Tom Doody, middle-aged American living in New Jersey near the Lincoln Tunnel. If you were to visit my website, you would type Howdy Doody into Google. You'll find the correct spelling of the famous puppet. You then combine Tom Doody in a Google search for my site. Today was telemarketing from home. I left 93 voicemail messages. The subject of this audio message is President Taft Method of Telemarketing. In a children's book, So You Want to Be President, by Judith St. George, illustrated by David Small. This is an abundantly creative, blockbuster, popular book that I used to read to my kids. The story is told on a single page with an illustration of President Taft addressing an audience, and a heckler threw a head of cabbage at him. President Taft, in the illustration, is holding the head of cabbage and says, "It seems my adversary has lost his head." This is an assault on a president, and given the supportive environment that he was in, a crowd of supporters who were listening, the assault was minor. In fact, we even have a different word for assaults like that. Those are called hecklers. Now, imagining the same situation for President Taft, if presidents were allowed a little more freedom back then. He had stepped out the back door of a place where he might have been speaking. Door locks behind him, and he finds himself in an alley alone, and it's dark, and he's hit with a head of cabbage. Now, President Taft was our heaviest president, so the number of criminals that he would be able to outrun would be equal to 0, and he would have good reason to feel threatened. So this head of cabbage as a heckler, minor. No big deal. We don't even call it an assault. In a dark alley alone, essentially defenseless, President Taft would have had reason to find this threatening. So I'm going to use this in today's, and I imagine future YouTube audios, kind of reporting on my telemarketing of the day for this reason. It helps me put in perspective the people who were rude to me during the day. So I'm going to cover, and not all these people were rude, by the way. The granddaddy at the end is a woman named Sherry, who insulted me. So if you want to click out of this audio report early, you'll miss what Sherry said to me. So here's what a few people did say to me. And again, I am potentially speaking to 93 people who I left messages for today. In general, this list that I'm calling from is hot. What that means from my perspective is that the people are hot. They're angry, but they're not just angry and they don't want to be bothered. They're angry and saying the types of things that people say when they're in debt. How do I know this? I'm a professional. I've been doing this for years, since 2009. And the first 3, 4, 5 voices that I hear in maybe the first hour of calling a new list of leads, I can estimate the temperature, and I'm usually right. It continues to characterize that way as the calls increase. I can make about 1,000 phone calls a week, and being able to stay on my game, keeping the rude people in perspective and the senseless people in perspective is a great help to me. Number 1, Katherine. Last 4 digits of her phone number 8909. I spoke to her for 21 minutes. Rare event. I keep my calls to 2 and 3 and 5 and 6 minutes. This was 21 minutes. She wants to pay all of her debt. It's going to take her about 3 years, as she estimates, paying about $1,500 a month. Now, in an attorney program, that would get her in. Certainly she'd have that debt paid in less than a year. But she insists on keeping her credit good. But Katherine has not checked her credit report. If she did, she's likely find that her credit is no longer good. She is maxed out on her cards, and the fantasy of keeping current on credit, therefore having good credit report, is oversimplifying the credit score. So her credit score is probably already low. Her best strategy to do it would be to get the debt paid, allowing her to resume a life with good credit in a very short period of time. $1,500 a month in an attorney program allows you to pay a lot of debt in a hurry. But Katherine's, she's just very simply, she's doing bad math here. Philip, last 4 digits of his phone number, 2122. Got off to a great start. May I tell you why I'm calling? Yeah, I'm in New Jersey. I see you're in New Jersey. I'm near the Lincoln Tunnel. I represent a law office in Philadelphia. Huntington Valley, Pennsylvania. It's near Philadelphia. The attorney helps his clients with debt. Now, Philip, I'm just calling, looking for the courtesy to present my services. And to do that, I only need to know if perhaps you or someone in your house or someone else you know is in debt, and you'd be so kind to listen to me for a couple of minutes while I describe what we do. The word debt triggered in him, and he abruptly ended the call. Now, is Philip in debt, and does he need our services? Maybe not. But Philip follows a typical pattern. Starts out great. He's a fine guy. He's decent. He doesn't know who I am. I might be his banker. I might be his neighbor. He might as well be decent. He's a polite guy in general. Boy, here's the word debt. This guy goes bananas. Maryann, last four digits of her phone number, 3089. I spoke to, I assume Maryann, a male voice. I assume Maryann's husband. And again, starts out real polite. Boy, he hit the word debt. I didn't even get the courtesy to present my services. I just want to cut it off right now, he says. And that goes off with an abrupt click. Michael, extension, last four digits of his number, 0202. We're working things out on our own. Well, Michael, if you were working things out on your own, you wouldn't be on my list. Now, granted, people are on my list that shouldn't be. Now, remember, Cat Stevens, the man who wrote, I assume, and sung Peace Train, was on a United States terror watch list. Now, this is a peaceful man. This is Cat Stevens. Cat Stevens was quickly cleared when they took him into custody at an airport. But nonetheless, people get on lists and they shouldn't be. Cat Stevens should not be on a terror watch list, and Michael maybe shouldn't be on this list. But my prediction is that Michael's on here for good reason, and he's working things out on his own. Is kind of the same approach to what he's been doing for probably a decade and a half, which means his debt accumulates or stays steady. Now, Sherry, here's the one I promised you. Again, starts out just fine. I hit that magic word, debt. She interrupts me, and where'd you get the idea that I'm in debt? She tells me to go to HELL and hangs up. Well, I called back and of course, went to her voicemail, as I predictably do after a harsh one like this. And I have kindly extended the invitation to Sherry to come here. So, Sherry, you were a one-on-one assault of me, and you insulted me. And so this is a little effort on my part to have a laugh at your expense. So, Sherry, if you're listening, this is what an audience of 93 people could hear. These are the 93 people that I left messages for today. You are nothing more than a heckler to me. Your insult was not appreciated. I did not deserve to be disrespected. My phone call is scrubbed, meaning people on the DNC are not on my list. I am a professional. I pay for this list through a credible, legitimate marketing service, and your number is on here for good reasons. So, Sherry, you are a heckler. This has been Tom Doody, middle-aged American living in New Jersey near the Lincoln Tunnel. If you were to visit my website, you would type Howdy Doody into Google. You would find the correct spelling of the famous puppet. You then combine Tom Doody in a Google search for my site. Thank you for listening. Have a good day, good evening, or restful night's sleep. Ciao.